Hello, my name is Jason Kaufman. My family and I own Fatwood Farms in Bellville, Ohio, overlooking the Clear Fork Valley. Here at Fatwood Farms, we're primarily interested in ecological restoration, so planting a lot of trees, kind of restoring woodlands back to traditional oak, hickory, savannas. I have an interest in indigenous growing practices, indigenous management techniques. And I would say a major part of what I do here is creating a spiritual connection to the land through interaction with it. For soil health, I do a lot of composting. We have chickens, so I'm using a lot of the chicken manures in the run to incorporate into my compost, and I also bring in some inputs from the community compost in Mansfield. I try to keep the soil covered at all times with wood chips or with green mulch, living plants. So we'll plant a lot of low-growing things like alyssum that are also beneficial for pollinators, just to try to cover and protect the soil. To create habitat and to invite pollinators and birds and other creatures here, we are doing a lot of planting of native grasses, native forbs. I also have a goal long-term of representing as many trees that'll grow in this region as possible. I would like to represent those here on Fatwood Farm, and focusing a lot on keystone species like oaks and hickories, things that support a massive amount of insects, which then support the further food web. Here on the property, to manage water, I try to make sure that the soil's covered at all times with mulch, which helps with water evaporation. I'm also studying the topography of the land and adding in swales and check ponds where the water likes to flow, just to try to keep the water on the property as long as possible, and also to minimize erosion. So in the drought last year, I got a little scared because one of our small ponds dried up. So I spent last fall really thinking about the hydrology on our land, the importance of water on our land, wanting to slow water down, keep it on the property as long as possible, which was never really a concern of mine because we, live in Ohio. We always think we have plenty of water, but last year showed me that is not necessarily the case, and who knows, projecting longer into the future, whether that will continue to be the case. So I started mapping out our property and tracing where water flows, and this was a pond that was already here on the highest kind of part of our property, and I think it must have been a livestock pond back in the day. I have dug it and expanded it. But from here, we feed down into a number of other little ponds and holding spaces, check dams, into a rocky creek. So I've been trying to just slow that water down, keep it here as long as possible so it doesn't flow off. So I don't really grow monocrops very much. So almost every bed I have is chock full of different things. So there's a lot of biodiversity going on in all the areas of the garden, which I think supports the plants by preventing disease from spreading from plant to plant. If you don't have the same kind of plants beside each other, then diseases can't necessarily run rampant. Having a lot of flowers integrated with your vegetables draws in beneficial insects, which control some of the pests that will often take over your vegetable crops. So I think there's a lot of value in creating diverse gardens. think there is this idea that we can create self-sustaining systems, systems that are so well knit together that they just self-perpetuate. And I'm not sure that that's true in practice, but it's a good target to aim for. And I think that's been the biggest challenge that I've faced is just realizing that there are a lot of inputs into the systems that you create, into the gardens you create, and working on a large scale. We have 42 acres that I've been trying to manage and restore. So working on that large of a scale, I found that I either do a lot and don't do it very well, or I can focus in a few areas and do it better and create a system that is more self-sufficient. So one of the big hurdles is slowing down, I think, because I like to do a lot. I want to make the whole property good all at once. So just this idea of slowing down, I think, and really being observant and careful with areas one at a time, year after year, slowly growing that system is very important. I broke our tractor last year, and it actually, I think, ended up being kind of a blessing in terms of property management, because it's forced me to slow down. I have to dig things by hand, I have to plant things by hand, I have to cut out invasives by hand, which has really led me to slow down. Instead of clearing a brush line in an hour, now it takes a day, and I actually find that I'm finding important plants in there that I would have overlooked and just taken out. So I really think slowing down and observing and being patient and thinking about this as a lifelong process has been maybe the biggest shift since I started this project. Arne Næss, the Norwegian philosopher of deep ecology, has a concept called the ecological self. And in this concept, he says it's the highest state of human awareness, where you realize there is no real separation between you and the ecosystem that you inhabit. That really the ecosystem's just an extension of your own body. And in Buddhism, this is called pratītyasamutpāda, which is interdependence, realizing that nothing arises independently or exists independent of anything else. We're all knit together. We all arise in a chain of causes and conditions, and really settling in to the land and this property has taught me about interdependence, about the ecological self. And that's as simple as seeing how planting spice bush brings certain butterflies that depend on that plant, or how putting in a swale in the chicken run is going to create water problems downhill, right? So it goes both ways, positive influences and, perhaps negative influences. So just realizing how every action we have affects those around us and the ecology we're embedded in.